Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about Hulk's jump. It's a really versatile technique and it has a lot of applications, and I've also found some advanced techniques that will really push it to new heights, I believe. So if you're looking at some of this and you're wondering what the hell I'm doing or how I'm doing it, don't worry, I'm going to go through all of it. Um, but first we'll start with the basics, I suppose. So basically, we started with Hulk's bar, I guess you could say, whenever you hold down the space key. If you let go when the bar is still on the red, you're just gonna do a regular jump. That's important to note because that means that Hulk cannot instantly jump just by holding down the space bar. If you want to do an instant jump, you just have to like tap the space bar really quick. And after you're past the red section of the charge bar, you're going to be able to do a jump. The jump distance is actually affected by how much you charge the bar. You don't go as far with a slightly charged jump, and of course when it's fully charged you go quite a long distance. You can also aim it up to do a really long vertical jump. That's really useful when you're trying to stall on the payload, when you're trying to wait for your team to arrive. You can do quite a lot of stalling with this. Very similar to Winston in Overwatch, has that kind of vibe. You can also use it to engage, of course, and to disengage. Generally speaking, because this move is really good and it allows you to move all over the place, you always want to be holding the spacebar at all times, basically. And normally that means that you cannot perform, a regular jump when you already have the jump charged. But if you have a secondary bind for your jump, you can cancel the jump by quickly doing it after you let go of your spacebar or whatever bind you have as your primary jump. So you can be holding on to the jump and then release and then press your secondary jump button, and you're just going to do a regular jump like that. So that's really useful because sometimes jumps are too committal, you don't actually want to jump. So that's a neat way to cancel your jump, I suppose. Of course, you can also cling onto walls, and you can jump off the walls as well. Normal application for this will be jumping off a wall, and you can either drop to the ground or cling onto another wall. Pretty useful. Of course, you can also cling onto a wall and also jump to the same wall. There are two main ways to do this. The way I do it most often is I just look up. I look back and up, and as you can see that blue arrow indicator. Basically, if you can see this blue arrow, that means that you're going to be able to jump off the wall. If you don't see it and you let go of the jump button, you're just going to drop off like that. So you cannot jump straight up like this, but you can jump by looking back and then up. You're going to be able to jump like that, and then you can, either jump to another wall like this, or you can, jump up and then strafe back into the wall. I didn't get it there, but basically like this. You can climb back into the same wall you just jumped off of. You can also move along walls horizontally, I guess you could say, to the sides. Just have to angle your jump slightly to the side like this, so long as you see the blue arrow, and then just strafe back to the wall and cling onto it. One thing that is important to note, you don't want to be holding on to the spacebar again too early as you start your jump, because that just means you're going to cling onto the same spot you just were. So it's important to wait a little for your jump to, move before actually holding onto the spacebar again. All you have to do to cling onto a wall is jump to it and have a key pointing towards the wall, basically. So it doesn't have to be the forward key, even if that's maybe going to be the most common way to cling onto a wall. So as you can see on the overlay, I can hold on to the right key here, and I'm going to be able to cling onto it just fine. The only way you cannot hold on to a wall is if you're facing away from it. So as you can see, I jump to the wall and I turn away. and I hold the spacebar, and it doesn't do anything. And it actually cancels the jump animation. And that's something that I'm going to be covering now, is that, well, regularly, you cannot charge another jump until after you've landed from the jump you're currently on. So if you're trying to stall on a payload, for instance, it's going to be a little bit slow. You have to jump and, you know, land, and then charge your jump again, and then jump again. That's a little bit slow, but there are ways to cancel your jump, and I'm gonna go over those now. So the easiest way to cancel your jump will be trying to cling onto a wall that you cannot cling to. And there are a couple of conditions that you have to meet for that. But basically, you cannot hold on to the edges of walls that don't have an adjacent wall to them. This is a good example. So if I try to hold on to this wall, I'm not going to be able to. I can hold on to the center just fine, because there's enough space to the sides. But if I try to hold on to the sides here, I just fall off and nothing happens. This is also a good example using these walls in the practice range, because trying to hold on to the sides here won't work. But trying to hold on to the middle, if you do it just right, you're going to be able to cling on. That's a good example. And that also applies to latches, so this is a good example as well. I'm gonna try to hold on to like the top of the latch here. That didn't work. So basically,
there's gonna be a fight.
Basically, what happens is that Hulk tries to initiate a wall jump, a wall climb. Then it realizes that it cannot cling onto the wall, and you kind of like bounce right off. And the interesting thing about that, about canceling the jump like that, is that you can actually start charging a jump even as you're in midair, as you may have been able to notice already. So that's really helpful, because it means that in certain moments you can actually jump again much sooner than normal, than if you were to just jumping normally. There's a great example, you know, that we can do on this wall. And this is particularly useful on vertical jumps, because you're on the air for much longer. So I'm gonna do a jump here. I'm gonna try to hold on to this latch. It's not going to let me, and then I'm going to bounce off. I'm going to keep a lot of my upwards momentum, and I'm going to be able to charge a jump as I'm falling down. That didn't work. Let me try again. So that's a good example. And as you can see, I'm already charging the jump as I'm falling. You can actually do it even better, and I'm gonna talk about that in a little while. But yeah, that's a good way to cancel your jump. And of course, as I explained earlier with the wall things, another way you can do it actually is just by facing away from the wall. That'll do just fine, regardless of what walls you're facing. So here's like a completely flat wall, but if I just face back and try to wall climb, it's not going to let me, and I'm going to be able to cancel the jump just fine. So that's really helpful. It allows you to really control your jumps, and if you do it right, if you look for the opportunities, you're going to be able to start charging your jump much earlier than usual. So that's really helpful. And the last technique that I'm going to cover is basically, I will call them wall jumps. They're kind of a bit tricky. For this, you're going to have to assign your jump to the mouse wheel. Well, that's what I would recommend, because it makes it a lot easier. Think of like bunny hopping in Source games. That's basically what's going on here. So the technique for this is basically you do a jump, and then as you approach the wall, you're gonna start scrolling your mouse wheel down, and you're gonna be holding a key in the direction of the wall, just like we covered earlier. And by doing that, and I'm going to show you a great, you know, a great example of this. You're going to be able to bounce off the wall, and the neat thing about this, not only does it cancel, you know, your jump animation, you're going to be able to conserve quite a lot of momentum by bunny hopping. Sort of like that. If you do it right, you can actually, you know, gain a lot of speed. That was a little bit better, for instance. So you wall jump off the wall, and then you bunny hop constantly, and you're going to be able to keep your momentum. And if your bunny hops are perfect, you're going to be able to maintain a lot of momentum. This is one of the most useful techniques I found. I imagine that not a lot of people know about it, but it's really useful. I'm going to be showing another example. I found that these walls are very good for that. Well, let me just try that. So as you can see, I'm conserving a lot of momentum just by jumping off the wall and then doing bunny hops to conserve my momentum. This can be really helpful, particularly when you're in narrow spaces, where you cannot really do big leaps. But also, generally, it's a good technique to conserve your momentum. Oh, one more thing that I forgot to mention. Because of the properties of the walls and how you can cling to them and so on, you usually cannot hold on to small pillars like this. So that's another way to cancel your jump. That is pretty helpful. So basically that's about it. That's about all I wanted to cover in this video. Hulk Sleep is an incredibly useful technique. It can have a lot of applications. This is what I found so far, but you know, maybe you guys can find some other applications for it. But that's going to be it for this video, basically. So, see ya!
Hulk protect!